Good morning. Thanks for getting in here early this morning. I'm really excited about this session because I'm not going to talk that much. The title is Show Me the Money in Finishes and Options, which is an allusion to one of my favorite movies, Jerry Maguire. And obviously, Show Me the Money is the bottom line in a lot of what we do. Although we bring so much imagination and creativity and science to what we do, it's got to all add up on the bottom line. And so we have a good panel together here, and let me just walk through. I'm going to actually ask the panelists to do a little self-introduction for about 60 seconds, a little bit about your company and your role. Melissa, you're up first.
Awesome, thank you. I am Melissa Friesen. I am the Creative Design Manager for Crystal Creek Homes. We are based out of Alberta in Canada, so we have two segments, both in Calgary and Edmonton. I have been with the company for 13 years, started as a selections consultant. I am an interior designer by trade, and have moved into overseeing our design center, developing that design center, as well as seeing our selections team and our architectural team. We build about 200 houses, give or take, every year. We have been in business for 20 years, and in history, been a custom luxury builder. In the past 5 years, in the Calgary market, we've really diversified ourselves, getting into some multifamily townhomes, as well as move-up product, as well as the big front drive, beautiful, luxurious homes. And then in our Edmonton market, we've actually started getting into some purpose-built rental projects too. So really excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Cool. And you're physically in Calgary?
I am physically in Calgary. It is the better of the two cities.
And I understand that there's a thing called the Chinook winds,
Yes.
which Calgary is actually warm because these winds come from Northern California and Oregon or something?
I don't think it's from Northern California, but yes.
I was misinformed.
It is the way that the wind comes off of the Rocky Mountains to Calgary. So we have crazy shifts in our weather in the winter, but it's a nice break from the cold.
Very nice. Jaclyn.
Thank you. Jaclyn Littley. I'm from Classica Homes. I'm a design consultant there. Been with the company for about 4 years, but we're about 14 years old, so still relatively young. We're a small company, about 35 employees, and we do about 50 to 60 homes a year, all in the luxury category, if you will. Sort of in the semi-custom, don't love that term, but we have a box, you're in a box, but it's a big box, I like to say. So we kind of curate a specific grouping of selections for people to choose from. We have our own design studio so that they don't have to drive around town and put everything together themselves.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Alan.
Alan Minty. I'm vice president of a number of things with our organization. As I'm told, my title's
That would be a good title, vice president of a number of things.
a number of things. Yeah, it's one of those new creative titles of random thoughts or something. So supply chain, logistics, and quality. So I get involved in a lot of different things. I'm based in Calgary, Alberta, and yeah, we have the Chinooks, and they're wonderful to break up that winter. Very similar to Denver. Dvele's been around for, I think it's about 7 years. I've been with the company for about 2 years. I came out of the mining and the upstream oil and gas business, so I'm really not too sure how I got here. And specifically why I'm responding to design things. It's not my shtick. But we'll see what I have to.
You're here because you're very entertaining.
Is that?
Yes.
Lord, I got to charge more.
Matt, thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meg Herlihy. I am an NCIDQ certified interior designer, and I am the founder of a company called Indaago Data. We do real estate and interior design data analytics. We will be going into a lot of what we do and why we do it. But in the past, I've worked in high-end residential design in the DC and Atlanta markets. I've worked for Lowe's corporate, and currently live in in Atlanta. Not DC, thankfully.
Good morning.
Coffee.
Hello.
So I'm really going to turn this over to Meg. She's devised a game show and all sorts of interesting interactions with the builder voices here, and is really going to take us through some of this data set along the way. So
so the title of today's presentation is Get to Know Your Buyers Better. Our data is designed to help you as builders to see the data behind what's driving buyer behavior in your local markets. Okay, so I always like to say that Indaago was created because I, as a designer, found myself unable to do my job. And what do I mean by that? Well, I was working with a company in Atlanta that flipped hundreds of homes a year. And they hired me to make specifications for their flips, essentially make recommendations that would sell their homes faster and for more money. The problem was I couldn't make data-backed design recommendations because the data did not exist. So here I am trying to make recommendations for floor plan changes and cabinetry and tile and plumbing fixtures. And I'd have to go through Zillow or Realtor.com, try to find all of the images of sold properties. Half the time, as y'all know, they're taken down. And when I could find them, I would make spreadsheets and sort of these like haphazard checklists. And the gist was it took forever and I still couldn't get an accurate picture of the market. It wasn't timely and it wasn't comprehensive. So I quickly realized that the opportunity was in the data, pivoted from interiors to this interior design data analytics company, and thus Indaago was born. And we like to say that our data does a few important things for builders. One, your designers, your design team is able to make data-backed decisions, and it's no longer based on the best guess of your design team member. So our data allows you to say, okay, in this particular market, these are the colors, these are the floor plan elements that correlate with higher sales price and fewer days on market, or a higher price per square foot. So your designer or your architectural team can take that information and then figure out how that's going to work with your current offerings and your floor plans, and know and feel confident that they're making the best decisions for their target buyer or their target price point. And then also just ensuring that what you're offering is aligning with your target buyer. And that changes, of course, over time as market conditions change. Most of y'all are operating in multiple markets. So as we know, real estate is local. So there's a lot of variation in those different buyer groups. So today we're going to be looking at 3 different markets. I wish I could have pulled data from all of your markets, but we only have 40 minutes. I have no idea how long I'm going to be talking. We'll see. So I pulled data from 3 different markets across the United States, and I'll show you that in just a second. But what we did was a little different than what we do normally for our data, because we annotate all of the images of sold properties and markets. But for today, we are looking at 2 different things. We pull the top performers in these markets in terms of price per square foot, and then the top performers in terms of fewest days on market. And then we looked at where those homes overlapped. So everything that you're seeing today is data that is based on the homes that not only had a higher or the highest price per square foot in their markets, but also sold the fastest. All right, so today we're going to be talking about these 3 markets. I picked markets where there was a good representation of both new construction homes and older homes, so that when you're looking at what is actually attracting the buyers, it's not just buyers who are solely looking at older homes that have been updated, but these are markets where they have the option of new construction and remodeled homes or fixers, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to look at Huntersville, which is north of Charlotte, very near the Lowe's headquarters, so a market I'm pretty familiar with. And then Florence, Kentucky, which is a little bit south of Cincinnati. And then we're looking at this area near Temecula, which is Inland Empire. So here we go. So for each area, we're going to look at exteriors, then kitchens, then primary bathrooms, and then architectural floor plan features. And we're going to involve the panel here with each sort of section. So we'll start with exteriors, and I'll start over there. And we're going to go through each of those 3 markets and show the different elements and materials that correlate with higher price per square foot. And as we go through the images, you'll actually see the price per square foot scale and how each of those images lands on that price per square foot scale. So it'll make sense when we get there. But here's our first trivia question. And you guys can write your answers on the boards. So what is one exterior material or feature that improves price per square foot in every market studied? What do you think? Okay, let's see what we got, John.
Stone facade.
Okay.
I said triple pane windows.
That probably does make sense in your market. Okay. I didn't study Canada.
I said window package as well.
Oh,
It's
Okay.
that whole house window package.
and I went with brick. You don't want a brick.
You have natural brick, painted brick, anything?
I just
Brick. Okay. Well, for the three markets that we studied, because they're all very different geographically, the answer is covered outdoor spaces.
Ooh.
oh, that's
And they look different in every market.
We were all thinking of the front of the
I know.
house.
Well,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
and you know what, you
Get
could
biased.
very well be right. I'd have to pull the data on that, but this is the answer for this particular question. Okay, so as we go through each market, you'll see down here the scale, price per square foot. So in this market, Erlanger, median price per square foot is 180. So everything that we're pulling is above that median price per square foot because we don't need to see what the median price per square foot homes look like, right? We're trying to elevate above that and get a little bit more profitability for y'all. Okay. Do y'all want to take a stab at some of the things that you notice in these pictures that jump out to you as things that you think we're looking at that would cause this higher price per square foot?
Like a fully landscaped exterior.
Okay. Yeah.
What jumps out to me is just the space itself, right? Like it's not technically included in your square foot, but you're extending the livability of the home. In our market, particularly, you can spend several months out of the year outside. So, and our architects are based in California. One reason being this purpose, they have awesome outdoor spaces. So we've incorporated that into our plans because you can screen it off. You can add heaters. So it's just adding that livable space.
I'm yes. Well, I'm also assuming that the picture on the bottom right there is an exterior sunroom. If I'm
Yep. So yeah, I mean, y'all are essentially right. It's the ability to have that seamless transition between indoor and outdoor living, and of course, as you increase that price per square foot or sales price, it's elevated, right? So like you can see in this first picture, that's closer to that $200 per square foot price. People in this particular market are expecting some sort of covered seating area, right? But it's going to look a lot different than when you look at that $350 per square foot, which is that enclosed sunroom. So, we know Cincinnati can get cold, right? So you can still use that room when it's a little bit colder and it's still a usable part of your indoor-outdoor area. And then if you look, for instance, at this one that's closer to like 325, it's not only got that screened porch area, but then they've extended it with, of course, the patio. So you kind of have that ability to entertain and extend your sort of like entertaining, livable space out there. You'll see the materials, of course, improve as we move along. So we've got that fireplace that's sort of in the middle picture, which of course is great in a market gets a little chilly.
So the pictures on here conform with the scale.
With the
below.
scale, yes.
Both the pictures above and below.
Yeah, so like it goes in order.
Cool.
I thought that was the best. I don't know.
That's
Maybe
cool.
that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't.
I'm thinking about the outdoor patio fan because Dennis has specials on them, right? So
We've been seeing a lot more covered patios in our market as well. We actually build in one community that the way that they do their architecturals, we include a covered patio, adding in the screens, adding in the outdoor heaters.
Mm-hmm.
And you're 100% right. It's adding that extension of that livable space to be able to use all aspects of your home.
Are your outdoor heaters integrated into the ceiling or are they just freestanding?
It depends on price point of the client. We do a majority of them that are integrated into the ceiling.
Okay.
A lot of our clients really like the Infratrek heaters that use the infrared technology. And then with the screens, again, because of those winds that we get, I'm just going to keep going back there.
We gotta,
They help block that, create a really nice outdoor space.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you'll see as we go to Charlotte, I mean, screens are so critical. Coming from Georgia, oh my gosh, get eaten alive. But let's move on because we're never going to get through this. Here we are in Huntersville. So we can go through the same exercise and you guys can see, and there will be overlap, of course, with a lot of this. So go ahead and take a stab at what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, she mentioned screens, so we see a lot of like motorized screens and trying to integrate the integrated heaters versus the standalone.
I see additional amenity spaces in this. The higher price points have, again, that outdoor living aspect. The ability to design a home that you really don't want to leave. You've got everything in your backyard there.
Are you guys seeing post-COVID a greater emphasis on exterior spaces?
Yeah, I would say that there's definitely more of that enjoying the home. Really building out every aspect of the home, putting more into that landscape design, so that you're having more of your guests come and enjoy your space versus going out and entertaining elsewhere.
Okay. All right. John, any thoughts?
it's just like the great room has gone outside, you know?
Yeah.
When I look at this far right.
Yeah.
I mean, but you just happen to be in fresh air and have some exposure to nature,
Yeah.
which is nice until they start blowing the leaves next door, you know?
Well, then let's start with the one on the far right with the $400 per square foot. Yes, so it's a screened, covered living area, but the screens, of course, can come up and down, which I think is awesome. So if you have people and you're having a cocktail party and people want to go in and out, you can do that. But if it's mosquito season, you can pull it down and you're safe, or your neighbors are doing landscaping. Okay, and then let's go back towards the very far left. So the standard, it appears to be in this market, is there has to be some sort of screened outdoor living area to really bump up that price per square foot. It doesn't have to look like that, you know, a vaulted ceiling with the fireplace and the television, but something that protects you and allows you to go inside and outside year round. Of course, it's the South, so front porches are always a big asset, and particularly like large usable front porches. So not these sort of like superficial things that you can't really actually sit out and enjoy. And then if you look in that middle photo, one thing that we've noticed in this market is there's a huge emphasis on very light filled and 2-story foyers where possible. So like in that picture, says double front door with expansive windows. Those windows above actually are still part of the foyer. So when you walk into that house, it's very light, it's very airy. It just feels like a welcome place when you're entertaining and hosting, which is of course a huge thing in the South and everywhere, but especially in the South. And then just continuing with that seamless transition from indoor and outdoor, a lot of those doors that sort of like open completely, or the, why am I blanking on the name? They sort of like pivot. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So there's motorized screens.
Yeah, so that last photo, if you look up there at the top, there's motorized screens.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's go over to California because it's completely different. As we know, homes are smaller, lots are smaller. So let's take a look and see what you'll have to say.
I see a big difference just from the lower price to the higher of the addition of shade that's added in those spaces. I guess the hot sun that comes in to be able to have a shaded area to be able to stay cool.
Yeah, and there's additional lighting in those covered areas. There's some fans I see on the out, which is interesting.
Windows are bigger, adding the light source.
And there's also, it's more of a breezeway approach too, at least on these examples here. You're getting that cross breeze to keep the temperatures down in the shaded areas.
The way these are merchandised, it's just more spare. It's that California spacious open versus Alabama. It's like, hey, how much can we get in here? You know, and it's just open. Yeah.
Yeah, and these aren't all, new. These are actual homes that have sold. So they're not all new construction model homes, right? So this is how people have chosen to market their homes, right? So, okay, so let's go to the next slide. What I like to say about this market is, right, you're dealing with very thin strips of land, And the goal is to maximize them as much as possible. So of course, in California, xeriscaping is necessary. So the yards look completely different. And what we can see at the sort of like bottom of this market is there is a preference for at least a mix of materials. It's not going to look like it does in that higher price point, but at least there's some element of thought that has gone into the layout and delineation of spaces as much as possible. And you'll also see, of course, the solar panels. So energy efficiency, y'all all know, super important in California. So ensuring that the homes produce as much energy as they consume, which I don't even think is a thought in Georgia. They have no clue what's going on. I love my state, but come on. But then you can see, like, as we move up, we've got this like sort of architectural shading solution. And as you move to that higher price point, like Alan said, like there's the lighting, there's the upgraded materials, and then even, where there's space and the budget, there's pool and additional seating areas. And but it's just a much smaller area. So anything that you can do to have impact in that small area seems to pay off. All right, let's go to the next. This is for every section. We also have some luxe trends. So essentially things that are at the high end, the super custom market that, in my opinion, as a designer, could easily be sort of brought down to the more like production level. And you guys can take a stab at these and see if anything jumps out.
The pass-throughs, again, of bringing that outdoor in and expanding that entertaining space is something that we've definitely seen in our market. Even though it's really cold, there is the ability to go in and out.
Now she's developed a complex.
I feel so bad. Canadians are the nicest people. I'm so averse to cold.
Think of the stylish
Doesn't
jackets you can wear.
I wouldn't be outside. I'd be inside.
Even it's simple here in a couple of the photos, the dressing up the ceiling with some sort of treatment. We see that a lot. We touched on the natural home in one of the segments. So like the stained ceiling there, kind of bringing that nature feel, but just allowing you to make it feel more of an internal space, even though it's exterior.
I can't quite see the, but it looks like there's quite a bit of external tile. If I see this right, there's small images from what I'm seeing.
Might be easier.
Yeah,
that way.
Oh, maybe not.
So we'll start at that very last one, the micro farming. Everybody,
Oh.
yeah. I don't know if
I
anybody.
didn't realize that those were edible plants.
No.
It's hard
You
to tell in
can
the
grow
picture.
your own food,
You can grow a few things.
Like,
and I think that
it
was
looks like
something- yeah.
cactus.
This may be a rendering. The point is, yes, having some sort of opportunity for people to actually like garden and do some of that micro farming in their own space. That actually is popular where we are. And I've tried it myself. It hasn't worked out that well, but that seems to be something that came out of COVID where, again, people are spending more time at home. They want to have more of that, homemaker lifestyle and the ability to sort of control what they're eating. And that seems to be something that's trending. And then if you look at this 3-story property up here with says indoor outdoor living goes vertical, especially like in these markets where you have the smaller plots of land, being able to ensure that you have living and outdoor living and entertaining spaces at every level seems to be something that is desirable. Of course, we talked about the kitchen pass through. That's perfect for entertaining. And I would assume a lot of y'all probably already do that in some of your higher end homes.
Yeah, I like that you touched on the indoor outdoor living on every level as well. Having walkouts, even if we have to force a walkout for a client, that is something that they want, that direct access to the outside. Main floor patios, we do a product in a few different markets that allows us to have a full rooftop patio for some privacy for them too in those higher density areas.
Okay. And then of course, just the upgraded windows, thoughtful casement details, being able to add natural light wherever possible, where it's within budget. And then, of course, the outdoor kitchens, outdoor grilling, where you can actually watch the game and everybody can congregate outside. And it's actually like a secondary kitchen area. But I do realize that that's quite expensive. But
Outdoor AV. I have to root for my home technology roots here, that it's there, right? It's more and more so there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and even if it's something that's pre-wired, that could be done when the budget allows. Okay, got another trivia question. Let's get your markers out. Okay, So name a feature that would be expected in a good, better, and best level kitchen in your market. So that would be 3 answers.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so for a good, a nice feature that I would say people expect to see is the ability to take their cabinets to the ceiling. In a better, I put a specific of like a garbage pull-out. So really those accessories within your cabinet space to really personalize it and not have all the things all over the counters or at the end of your island. And then in the best level, we find that really customized canopy hood fan, integrated hood, really the details, and really it's the luxury appliances. Over anything, it's clients wanting that really, really good appliances. If you can get that Wolf Sub-Zero in your budget, that is definitely expected in that best.
My notes are a little all over the map. But yeah, my first one was specific to appliances. So just kind of rolling off of that, clients like the feel of bigger appliances, whether they use them or not. And so it just kind of makes a more grand entrance in the kitchen, going along with that, like cabinet hoods, things like that, more customized look over the appliances. Better being like customized organization. So pull out spice racks, things within the drawers, being able to do knife blocks in the drawers just to clean the counters up, appliance garages, just any way to maximize the space and give that clean look.
Okay.
And then best being adding layers to the kitchen. So spaces off the side of the kitchen. So like a scullery, maybe it's got an extra space where you can do dishes so that when you're entertaining, you're not bogging down your main area of entertainment. So just...
And being in the purchasing side, I went very specific on not where things were, but what they were. So task lighting, very specific types of task lighting, low energy kind of fixtures that way. In our group in the modular area, trying to get an island into a modular concept design is very difficult. We'd like to see those things. The better I had, what did I write here? Oh yeah, custom color fixtures. So you're getting some of the blacks and the bronzes versus the chromes. You've got some selections there, and then people are making some different selections as far as what that kind of stuff looks like. And then on the best, it was the super high-tech Wi-Fi enabled automatic pizza oven appliances, things that basically washes the dishes for you as well. So,
yeah. All right, well, we'll touch on most of those. You guys are spot on, so let's give it a whirl. All right, so we're back in Erlanger. So here we are with the kitchens, and if anybody wants to touch quickly on any of these, you can see, and you guys were like very much on track with most of your comments, so you should be able to pick out some of these different.
Yeah, you've got some built-in appliances, cabinetry end panels to your islands, your cabinetry to ceiling, pendant lights over islands. Really that customization that allows your kitchen to be different than your neighbors.
Yellow island, so I'm out.
All right. Okay, so let's look at some of these. This lowest price per square foot, we're looking at, you mentioned cabinets to ceiling. Yes, the 30-inch cabinets are always going to be in that lower price point, but it's an upgraded finish, so it's not that, generic oak looking cabinet with the heavy graining. And right above it, you can see more like it appears to be just more of a basic oak cabinet, but they have made it look a lot nicer with the upgraded colorful tile. And then it appears to be a quartz countertop. So while the cabinets aren't particularly high end, it does feel a little bit more intentional. And then, of course, as you start moving up in terms of square feet, Alan, you mentioned lighting. So ensuring that you have more architectural lighting. So not just the basic chrome builder grade fixtures. And then, of course, adding the double ovens and, the nicer architectural range hoods. And then, of course, statement tile, cabinets to ceiling. And then just generally speaking, like as you can see in that top right photo, extending the cabinetry oftentimes into that breakfast area. So you've got extra storage space and potentially like a little bit more display space. And we'll see that in a couple of other examples as well. And of course, at that higher end, the two-tone cabinetry, bar area, the appliances are upgraded. And on that note with appliances, I am curious if y'all are seeing any movement towards induction over gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Are people
slower.
open to it, or is it?
It's slower in our market, but definitely has picked up even in the last 6 months.
Mhm.
So it's something that we're kind of having to inform ourselves on,
Yeah.
because we're not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Gas is still by far the number one
Uh-huh.
in our market. I actually myself have an induction range, have switched over about a year ago now. And I love it. I have young kids at home,
Yep.
so it's fantastic in the sense that they're not going to burn themselves on that. But yeah, I think it's in our market, a lot of people, they like that pro style look to the gas range. So that's something that in designing an induction range, I think would need to kind of follow suit. And just that luxe look to the pro
Yeah,
series.
I don't think there's any of the 60 or inch induction ranges at this point, or even 48.
Yeah, and I think in our where we live, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of gas still being used. I think it's more of a function of what those utilities are available, what those costs are associated with in our particular market area, because we're primarily southwest and western USA. The induction is very much on our radar and on our customers' radar, just from an energy specific usage standpoint and the availability of it. Sometimes it's only electricity that you've got available to you.
And the downlights with a dimmer is kind of a standard feature, and then our upgrade path is to specific fixtures, decorative fixtures. Is that the way it goes? It just seems like you shouldn't have a standard where you don't have a lot of downlights and you don't have a dimmer on.
Yeah, it's those additional light levels that you're adding in. So typically on a more entry-level home, you would have just your task lighting. And then from there, you start getting more of your ambient lighting and adding in under cabinet lighting. We're seeing lighting even added into the toe kicks of your cabinets, glass front cabinets with displays that then have lights added into them, just to add that additional level.
And are we doing that as standard, or are we making that an option? Or
most of the time, it's an option and an upgrade.
Yeah, it's not standard for us, but what is standard is we call it a light rail, which is actually kind of confusing to clients, but we go ahead and put in the cabinetry piece that will hide the lighting so that it's not visible if they do want to add it. So again, just kind of creating these things that you feel it when you look at it. You don't necessarily notice as you're walking through.
It's interesting you call that a light rail. We call it a valance.
A valance.
Yeah. So
the upper one's valance.
Yeah, it's so interesting, just the different markets.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll probably see some of this coming up. Okay. We're in Huntersville. We can quickly go through if you guys want to comment on any of this. Otherwise, I'll go through and show you what we're looking at.
Again, I see similarities from the previous slide, that attention to the more details and layers, the multiple cabinetry colors, and more personalization. As I mentioned before, those cabinets that have the upper lighting to it with your stacked uppers, additional storage there too. And then the customized details in a personalized fan or head fan coverage.
Yeah, I was glad that you mentioned that glass cabinetry, because that is something we started to see a lot of as you moved up that per foot. Helen, any thoughts?
I'm just picking up on the blending of the space between like sitting family or food consumption areas with the kitchen itself. Like there's a demarcation, but it's very subtle.
Yeah. Alrighty, so let's go up to that top left image. Again, this is sort of that lower, above median price per square foot, but you have the mixed height cabinetry. Personally, as a designer, I'm not a huge fan of that, but that seems to be something that people in that market seem to appreciate. And then instead of, like, for instance, the cabinets going all the way to the ceiling, in this particular example, they have like a small soffit, which I don't see a lot of, but I think it does look very clean. And I assume that there's some sort of cost savings affiliated with that versus just doing like a 30-inch cabinet and having space above. We already talked about the glass cabinetry and the display, and that picture is perfectly exemplifies that lighting within the cabinetry itself. And just generally speaking, in this market, a lot of emphasis on millwork, thicker crown. Again, I think that's a Southern thing, a focus on more of a traditional look. And then we also noticed vaulted ceilings. So having that vaulted ceiling between the kitchen and the family room. So even if it doesn't have tons of millwork, it does give sort of that spacious, airy feeling. Of course, we talked about the light rail, which is on this slide as well. As a designer, I think that looks so much more finished, and it's great for ambient lighting at night as well. So that was something we picked up, and I think that speaks to the preference for millwork as well. And then, of course, two-tone cabinetry, a lot of painted cabinetry in this particular market, which isn't entirely surprising. Cabinets to ceiling, and then just adding in natural light in the kitchen where there's space too. So in that last picture, you can see that there's a couple of windows flanking that range hood. All right, we're back in California. Different market. Anybody want to take a stab?
They've gotten to more of the wood as the upgraded versus the last one was the painted. There's an interesting shift there in that detailing.
A lot of statement pieces too. We had the chance to view product Monday throughout the area, but like the waterfall detail on the island, kind of creating more statement areas, even if it's just a small detail.
Yeah, one thing I noticed in this market, because again, the homes, like the average square feet is just so much smaller, being able to maximize opportunities for cabinetry. So you'll see a lot of that stacked cabinetry, just ensuring that, there's as much storage space as humanly possible. Typically, there's only going to be one dining area. So in that last photo, you can see that there's a display area, there's the wine refrigerator. So it feels a little bit more elevated than a typical breakfast area would. And just generally speaking, and let's go to the next slide as I'm sitting here talking. Generally speaking, just the ability to maximize that, what is typically like an open concept living, dining, kitchen, and making it feel a little bit nicer. Obviously, there's, as you can see from these images, there's not nearly the emphasis on crown and moldings and things like that. It's just a cleaner look altogether. At that bottom level, in terms of price per square foot, we saw a lot of just generally like light aesthetic, just to sort of make it feel a little bit more open and spacious. And then as you move up, just like I mentioned, stacking the cabinetry, upgrading those materials, adding the actual proper range hood, and occasionally doing some of that more like statement tile or glass cabinetry, just not to the extent that maybe we would see it in a less expensive market.
And Meg, what you're picking here, what you're showing us are the features of the homes that are selling faster in those different price ranges.
Yes, all of these were picked. They're the properties that sold faster, so fewer days on market, and for a higher price per square foot in those specific markets in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a cool piece of information to work with as you're refining and revising and setting new design standards, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very niche thing, but it's great information.
Well, that's the data that we sell. Happy to chat with anybody now, later. Happy to do a demo. But essentially, yes, as I mentioned, our data captures all this information in an easy to digest manner and should give you the insight you need to be able to make action.
I mean, I think it's interesting how different it is from market to market too.
Right?
Yeah. You guys caught on to the color changes and the actual finishes themselves, staining and such.
And I think as interest rates continue to stay high, there's just a limit to what people can afford and what they're going to be able to expect. So it should shift as the economy changes as well. So it's important to have that timely data. All right, we're in the luxe section.
Ceiling details.
Ceiling
I see,
details,
the integrated appliances, oversized appliances. Again, taking those cabinets right to the ceiling, having some open shelving is also something we see huge as a trend right now. A lot of people are getting away from having their traditional hutches and china cabinets and whatnot, but this is a great opportunity for them I know this is the luxe, but a little bit more of a cost-effective way to be able to display that, those prized possessions.
One thing that sticks out to me too is just the minimalistic approach. So kind of hiding as much as you can in a kitchen, so that it doesn't look like a functional space, but more just immaculate in general. So clean counters, obviously, but even the picture bottom middle, just everything is, the appliances barely stick out. So just kind of trying to blend everything as best as you can.
Bowls here, hardly seen.
Yeah, no bowls, yeah.
We were in one session this week that I thought was interesting, where someone asked about panel-ready appliances. And he kind of brushed it off, saying that it was of the past. And it's something that I see so many people wanting. They want those clean looks. They want really not to know where that fridge is in your home. We do panel-ready dishwashers, panel-ready fridges, but it's just that each space has its own function and purpose, versus that big stainless box that we're also used to seeing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more natural light I'm seeing on the higher end of this as well. And again, a lot more light fixtures themselves are a little bit more focused fixtures, I guess. And you have to use more lighting sources to actually light up an area, depending on what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Ding, ding, ding on the natural light. Yeah, so we'll start with that. Yeah, just increase natural light. And I understand that depending on the market and the budget, that may not always be possible, but I personally spend a lot of time in my kitchen. We already talked about that, a sort of seamless transition from the kitchen to the outside and the pass through. Plaster, and this is big in Atlanta too, but I know plaster itself is a very expensive, time-consuming process, but there are some paint techniques that can sort of emulate that look and that sort of like hand-textured look that gives a little bit more warmth. Built-in coffee, built-in wine, paneled refrigerators, obviously super high-end, but even being able to have one or two of those features is always an amenity. And then vaulted ceilings, but elevating that vaulted ceiling with, for instance, some millwork that coordinates with the cabinetry. So when you have that open kitchen living concept, it all feels a little bit more cohesive. One thing, especially for like the California market where you're talking about smaller spaces, is sort of like a built-in seating where it also has integrated storage and everything fits a little tighter and less furniture to buy, and it all feels a little bit more intentional. And then I do have a question in secondary work zones as well. Sorry, we'll talk about sculleries and sort of additional spaces in the floor plan area. But a question in terms of the floating shelving, do people have pushback about like dust and like cleanliness, or are they don't care?
No, I think that they want that visual detail to it. I personally wouldn't want to have to dust it, especially in new construction. There's so much construction dust that happens. But I think there's just some beauty about being able to display versus having just a full run of cabinets.
Yeah. Okay. And is any interest in like colorful appliances?
Not colorful appliances as much right now. We did go through a little bit of a trend of having kind of your range be of color.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot more color in cabinetry right now. Okay. So we're seeing those blues and the greens. We just opened a new show home that, not in the kitchen, but in the laundry room and in the powder room, we did a pop of purple. So we are seeing people getting away from this all white box and having a little bit more fun with color and depth and texture.
Yeah.
I will chime in that our data, we do track color codes for exterior colors and cabinetry in the kitchen. So we are able to show exactly the hues that are in these homes and how they correlate to sales price per square foot, days on market. So it's not like white kitchens are in, that's useless information to anybody in this field, right? What shade, what hue of white, what stain? Are we talking about white oak or are we talking about espresso? So just a little tidbit there.
There's multiple shades of white.
There are. Can you believe it?
We were talking about whiter shade of pale
I had
earlier.
no idea. This was white.
Alrighty, one more trivia. Or actually, there's two more trivia, so get your pens ready.
Go.
An increase in which two bathroom elements correlate with a higher price per square foot in each market studied?
Right
Okay.
down here.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So I said a fully tiled oversized shower, as well as a dual vanity or dual sinks in that space.
I said steam showers or oversized showers, and also just really high-end materials and textures like natural stones, things like that.
Freestanding tub and bidets.
Yeah, we did not track bidets. I didn't see a lot of bidets.
Not a lot of them out there,
Definitely
but
an
man,
uptick,
it-
though.
it-
But you
yeah,
know, that would
definitely,
be
yeah.
an easy data grab. So
Yeah.
we'll see. So the answer is an increase in linear feet of windows and an increase in linear feet of counter space, although a lot of these answers are applicable as well. So let's quickly run through, I think we've got 12, 13 minutes. We're going to run through bathrooms really quickly, and we're going to run through floor plans. Y'all want to take a stab at any of these?
Counter space.
Yes.
Although I was very clever with the freestanding tub, because if you have the freestanding tub, you need a bigger bathroom. Therefore, you need a bit more counter space, right?
Yeah.
So
Right on.
I got
You
it.
were right on it. Yeah.
Sorry,
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, I'm like, it's the higher end finishes,
Yeah.
undermount sinks versus your drop-in sinks.
Yeah.
Additional lighting, some integrated lighting into your mirror.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the mirrors, you see as you increase that price per square foot, you go from that just basic frameless mirror all the way up to something that's got integrated lighting, or like the round and the gold finishes. Of course, we talked about like frameless enclosures, the size of the shower, that's correct. There seems to be some preference for the knee space and the vanity in this particular market. Whether or not it's dropped or the same height as the vanity doesn't seem to really impact it. And then, of course, just in terms of the tub shower combination, going from sort of that like basic tub to like a tiled enclosure and then tile to the ceiling, and all of that probably seems fairly obvious. And then, of course, the faucets going from my least favorite thing, the mini widespread, to the proper widespread faucets with the upgraded lever handles, things like that, undermount sinks. Yep. Okay, quickly, Huntersville. Any thoughts?
Not freestanding tubs in there, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, they're just,
I still love the shower tile.
yeah.
And there were the larger oversized showers.
And you mentioned the frameless shower enclosures. To me, that's just visually a much higher look than the frame.
It's interesting. The last one here is the glass going straight to the ceiling there, creating that bulkhead and creating that fully enclosed shower.
Yeah.
If a client can't necessarily afford to put that full steam unit in, you've kind of created a steamier space for them to really enjoy that shower.
Yep. Spot on. So of course, talked about the frameless enclosure, but then adding in things like a bench sheet, adding things like the upgraded tile, like with a little bit of color and a little bit more architectural detail and thought instead of just your plain white ceramic tile. Separate vanities seem to be something that correlate with a higher price per square foot where the floor plan allows. Personally, I would love that. I'm tired of sharing a sink with my husband. Sorry if he ever watches this. I'm sure people feel the same way. And then in terms of lighting, instead of having just the horizontal fixture over the mirror, flanking the mirror with sconces, doing a framed mirror. And then, of course, we talked about natural light and adding that wherever possible. All right, last one, Temecula. Thoughts?
It's interesting to see the change of the gold hardware in here. We were chatting about that yesterday. We see so much black and gold in our market. We offer the chrome as standard, and clients, they would rather go with a standard tile and upgrade their plumbing fixtures to either that black or gold.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
Certain elements here too that are hard to pick up on in the image, but when you walk the space, you feel the luxury of it. It's like simple as thicker countertops, kind of giving that appeal. Of course, they're just wrapped, but giving that appeal of just higher end. Square sinks.
Yep.
It's even just larger. Like the larger square footage, the larger the price associated with your data correlation, but the higher end, it's just giving that more space in the bathroom to have the freedom to turn it into a spa type of environment.
Like, do you in your data get at what room is selling the house in a market, right? Because a room could be the difference maker, and like how do we
Yes and no.
really kill in a
We have
specific-
multifamily data, and we study the floor plans for apartments to show how space ratios correlate with vacancy and effective rental rates. So that's, I don't know that we have any multifamily people in here. We want to do that on residential, but there's just like, I think it's something like 25% of listings have floor plans. So we can do it, but there's just not, and even in new construction, like the exact floor plan that sells isn't always attached to the listing. So there's a little bit of difficulty with that. Yeah. We would love to do that. And if we can figure out a workaround or do a custom, research project for a builder, we would be happy to do that. But yes, I think that that's important information because it's so easy on the multifamily side. And it's fascinating to see that.
That data point could be extracted from interactive floor plans. If we were able to aggregate the data in terms of where people land on a floor plan.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And I think you're putting your money in the right places. Like it's doing up your kitchen, doing up your primary ensuite. Those nice to haves are those secondary spaces, but I think typically the person who's purchasing the home uses those spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, so we'll just touch on again. The interesting thing about this market is I see a lot of increase in like the linear feet of cabinetry, but they're not an upgraded cabinet. So it seems like when you don't have as much space, you want to have as much usable cabinetry as possible, then maybe there's just not the budget to actually upgrade the cabinetry. Of course, quartz countertops, undermount sinks, adding as much natural light as possible. The widespread faucets, y'all mentioned the gold, which seems very popular in some of the older homes that we look at where people have remodeled and they might be doing some fashion forward finishes, but I'm guessing that the cost to upgrade in a lot of new construction may just be prohibitively expensive, and that might explain why we don't see it as much. We've talked a lot about layered lighting, multiple shower heads where possible, and of course the widespread faucets. And let's see here. All right, Lux trends. We've got to go quickly through this one. I can just answer it if y'all want. Okay. The multi-depth vanities sort of gives that like furniture look to the vanities, feels a little bit more elevated. The accent color and also the use of wet rooms. So I think this would make more sense in like a California market where you don't have the square feet, but I'm curious if y'all have seen this in your markets. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Mixed metals, just sort of that feeling that this has been done by a designer. And if you have one family member who hates one color and another who hates the other, like there's some happy medium there, and sort of mixing that modern traditional aesthetic to appeal to a wider group. We see, for instance, that frameless mirror up there that's been sort of framed out by a bit of a soffit, and then the statement shower enclosure. So something that's a little bit different from your average frameless glass shower. So you could do a white, basic ceramic tile, but have that sort of like elevated look. And then, of course, inset cabinetry. Do y'all sell inset cabinetry, or is it just too much of a like liability? I know it's a bit more of a pain to install.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We'd like to, but
Yeah.
the installation's the kicker right now.
Yeah.
Depends which wall you got to be able to work with.
Yeah. Okay. All right. One more trivia.
5 minutes.
Okay. The floor plan feature that buyers most request in my market is
More
more.
Here we go.
More
again.
what?
floor plan, more space, period.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
they want more.
So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just said an open to below great room, that 2-story space in the home, having those details into the ceiling and the multiple ceiling heights just to help bring your eye up in a grander space.
I went back to the covered outdoor living. It's just everybody, it's expected.
Yeah.
And since COVID, I think it kind of came out of COVID, just having the transition of everybody spending more time at home and whatnot.
All right, we're gonna have to go through these in like 30 seconds.
Go for it.
All right, so we're looking at floor plan and architectural features here. So this is in Erlanger, but that sort of like office nook, if anybody, works from home, that having a desk in the kitchen is sort of useless because your children are running behind you and you're on a Zoom call and then the dog is there. So being able to take even just a tiny amount of square feet, have a door and have a space behind you that can look professional, seems to be optimal. You mentioned two-story family rooms, absolutely seems to be very popular in this market. Having a separate bar area, because a lot of times we're not seeing formal dining rooms, so having sort of a separate area to like actually have drinks and display and congregate and possibly put out snacks and canapes. Millwork in the entry, adding those tray ceilings, and then you can see the difference in in the office and a lower price per square foot versus sort of that like luxe level where we've got a proper office at the front of the house with paneling and the bay window. All right, we're gonna go to Huntersville. Again, going back to that office, we've got a dedicated office, but it's not enclosed, so there's some site room. So whether everybody's working from home or you're the mom and you're trying to watch the kids, but also pay bills, there's that opportunity. Thicker casing, of course, we've talked about millwork and that preference for more statement moldings. Seeing a lot of vaulted primary suites, and then in the entry, a little bit wider, a little bit more formal, sunrooms. And let's see here.
Hey, Meg, I just want to plug another session that's going on in the high volume track
Yes.
for video viewing, because
Yeah.
you need to come back here for lunch. But the next session, general session 5 in high vol, is work from home.
Yeah.
And we've been hammering on
Yeah.
that in the technology track, because there are a lot of technology features, but we've also looked at room design.
Yeah.
And the furniture really needs to be right and integrated with the room design and the technology. And so this time they worked with Paige Foss at Drees Homes to like fully merchandise 3 or 4 of these work from home concepts. So that might be an interesting view.
Yeah.
Because this is one that I keep hammering y'all on. This is a room that can absolutely win a sale with a specific buyer, right? Yeah.
We've designed a couple homes that have dual offices in them with the work from home
I
trend.
mean, typically you have 2 people working from home, so you need 2. And who wants to use 2 full bedrooms for offices? It's a lot. All right, we'll finish up in Temecula. One thing I noticed that was interesting is, and I'm guessing because the primary suites are a lot smaller, but adding a gas fireplace in the primary suite, so sort of has that like retreat feel with a much smaller footprint. And then adding display and storage wherever possible. So you've got that recessed shelving in the entry. Doesn't take up a lot of space, but it does give a little bit more of a formal feel. Those far bottom right images are the same home, but you can see an entrance. You've got the bedroom and then the entrance to the little casita there, which then has its own proper entrance from the outside. So you've got sort of an in-law space or a teenager space, or I don't know what the laws are, but I guess you could Airbnb something like that. So that was something we saw there. And then of course, going back to the enclosed office, usually in that market, it's not in the front of the home like it is on the East Coast.
Rentable space is a big trend, according to the Zillow New.
Yeah.
The younger buyers want to be able to
Offset
rent
their mortgage.
temporarily or even move on from that property and have it be an investment property. So that's a huge feature set that's in demand right now.
We do carriage suites over top of garages in any of our laned product. And those are the homes that sell so quick for us when people can offset their mortgage by having an income from whether it be an Airbnb or even renting out to a college student.
For boomers like us, Alan, it's just like, it's kind of freaky. I don't want somebody in my house. But for Gen Y, you all are cool with it. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're cool with it.
You need the money.
The economics are driving so much.
You need the money. Okay. We got to go fast.
Okay. Lux
really
trends.
fast.
We're just going to do it really quickly. 30 seconds. Talked about statement entries way back in the beginning, but the 2-story entry where possible. A lot of expansive millwork, that wow factor when you walk in, incorporating technology, especially when you only have one living area. So you don't have the TV with the wires and all this crap that then you have to do once you move in, sort of making that like recessed look so it all integrates with the fireplace, the millwork. Multifunction mudrooms, multifunction spaces off of the kitchen, multifunction laundry spaces. I know when we leave the house, like it's a blizzard, right? So there's the mudroom and there's the snacks and all of that, like having the space where you can have all that congregate and shut it off is ideal, at least in our world, and it seems to be in everybody else's. We talked about plaster, and then of course color drenching, which really makes more sense either as an option for an upgrade or for like the models. And even without all the millwork, just sort of giving even like a basic room just that sort of like architectural impact. That's it.
We are out of time.
Yes.
There's Meg's QR code,
That's
so
for LinkedIn,
snap
yeah.
that if you want. And can you forward it one more slide? Because I think we've got
Yes,
everybody's
yes,
email
sorry.
address. Because there's,
We're not
keep
gonna
going. No,
recap.
we're not going to recap. But we do have everybody's email address here. I hope I got them all right. Really appreciate the sharing, the insights, the observations. Meg, you did a masterful job walking us through a lot of information. I hope you walk away with some really good ideas from this. So thanks to our panel, thanks to Meg. And you need to get to your boardroom, so look for your group leader out there.